So today, let's talk about everything that we know for the NVIDIA RTX 50 series launch. We're going to talk about when it's probably going to be announced, what to expect, maybe even some potential pricing, although nobody really knows until that happens. So when do we expect to hear about this RTX 50 series? It's been a while since the RTX 4000 came out, so I'm sure many people are kind of itching to see what the next generation will be. Now, one big piece of news that we know is that the NVIDIA CEO is going to be doing the keynote speech at CES 2025, which is going to happen in January, so within a few short months. Now, obviously, he's probably going to be talking a lot about AI and data center, just because that's really been the driving factor for NVIDIA the last year or two. It's really been AI. It's been a huge push. Not saying that they forgot the gaming market, but it's such a big difference in terms of their revenue that sometimes you have to wonder how long gaming is going to be some type of priority. But that's when they're going to potentially announce. They didn't say yet, but that makes the most sense, where they would announce an RTX 5090 and 5080. That's the next bit of news. Which GPUs are likely coming first? Now, obviously an RTX 5090, and this one has like some pretty gigantic specs, possibly 32 gigabytes of VRAM at 512-bit memory bus. Remember, we used to complain that the 4070 Ti only had 192-bit memory bus with its 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Look at the drastic difference that a 5090 is. That's like an insane GPU, and it's not just a gaming GPU. With those type of specs, it's almost basically a data center GPU, at least some type of hybrid. It's like a true Titan card in terms of its specs, at least based on stuff that we've had the last several years. We've never had anything anywhere near this powerful, especially with the VRAM. It's going to have more CUDA cores than the 4090. So overall, it's going to be a pretty beefy GPU, potentially 600 watt TDP. That's something else to keep an eye on. And now let's hear a word from our sponsor, VIP-CDKdeals.com, a Windows Pro CD key. Add to cart, you put in code CC20. This will also work on Windows 11. You want to go into your settings in Windows, change and adjust your CD key, click activate, and now let's go back to the video. Have to see what type of power connectors they use. Are they going to stick with what the 4090 had, that obviously had a lot of issues over time? Is it going to be redesigned? Is it going to be dual, the 16 pin cables? So we're going to have to see exactly what happens, but the 5090 certainly is shaping up to be very, very powerful. Now, is it going to have a price that's acceptable? That's going to be hard to say, because the 4090 sold out even though it was really expensive. A 5090, then it's kind of like, who knows what's going to happen, especially in this type of atmosphere with AI being, really in demand all over the world. People are going to use these as machine learning GPUs. I don't think it's going to be the same price as a 4090. But since it still is a gaming GPU, I also don't think NVIDIA is going to put the price all the way up to like $2,500, for example. Those were some of the rumors. I think it's going to be somewhere in between, maybe a few $100s more than a 4090, maybe $1,999, but that's hard to speculate on. It's probably going to be more, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. Interestingly, the 5080 is going to have still 16 gigabytes of VRAM. Some rumors said 24 gigabytes. We won't really know until it gets closer, obviously, but if it does have 16 gigabytes of VRAM, it will be GDDR7, which is going to be faster, more efficient. Won't have as much bandwidth necessarily as like a 4090 VRAM, but it's still going to be very, very capable. And they say, with the rumors, the 5080 could perform close or a little better by 5 to 10% than a 4090, but only have about 400 watt TDP. That wouldn't be too bad. Obviously, the price will be an issue. 4080 Super, $999. If a 5080 was $999, probably would be a pretty good GPU for that price, but I don't think NVIDIA is going to drop it down. I think RTX 50 series seems to me like it's going to be a more niche, premium type of release, almost like what the PlayStation Pro is, for example. The console is, more expensive than the regular one. You don't get like a huge difference, but you do get a difference, and enthusiasts will pay a few $100s more than a typical PlayStation to get that extra power. I think that's probably what also will happen with the RTX 50 series. series, they're going to be even more premium GPUs, especially considering there's not too much competition, at least that we know of, from AMD. AMD has even said they're not really chasing those high-end GPUs anymore. They're sticking more to the mid-range, so that way they get more, consumer. They get, larger consumer adoption on these GPUs, and more, developers optimizing and making drivers for more people. If there's only a few Halo products, like they said, they call it King of the Hill, not as many people will buy it, and therefore not as many developers will optimize for AMD. But that means NVIDIA is going to be in the lead in the high end, probably the mid-range, because it has such a large market share. And that brings us to the 5070. Some rumors have said that it may also launch alongside the other two, but a little bit hard to know. Usually the 70 series GPU, like last generation, they delayed the launch a little bit, so it came out after the 80 and 90 series GPUs. They kind of staggered the launch. So we'll see what happens. That one, if it stays at $699, $799, will be interesting to see how that matches up against like a current 4080 Super, for example, or a 4070 Ti Super. We'll have to see how much better that's going to be. And obviously it's going to be less power and more efficient, most likely, than something like a 5090. But we really have to see where that pricing comes in, because that's more of a mass market GPU. Not as many people may budget for a 5090, but a lot more will budget for a 5070, which should be probably a third of the price or somewhere in that neighborhood. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Those are the three GPUs that we think likely should be coming. We're going to have to wait and see, because NVIDIA has been, tight-lipped about everything. Leaks all this point in, different directions. But going by history, it kind of makes sense that these three GPUs would be announced and released shortly thereafter in the beginning of the year. All right, guys, let me know what you think about the upcoming GPUs. Are you excited for them? What do you think the pricing is going to be? Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.